on it. But on the other hand, you know, he had a lot of fire. Like, you know, he would say, like, if he had a good show, he'd say, like, we upset them people, you know, like, in other words, like, you know, they were so riled up. He wanted to rile people up, you know, and he really respected showmanship. I mean, he saw himself as a showman. And, you know, he walked out in the crowd, he struck these poses. He was always, like, standing, like, sideways. He was real tall and skinny, so it's like, he was like a tree that had been struck by lightning and was standing like this, you know. He was always, like, leaning over and pointing and, you know, I mean, he never just stood there and sang, you know. There was always some dramatic action, you know, as he kind of stalked around, you know. But even when he was in repose, it was like a dramatic repose. Like sometimes he'd just lean up against a chair and sing like a Muddy Waters. But it was always arresting in some way, you know. It was arresting in some way. So, you know, he can't. I mean, as a singer, I mean, you're really counting on the musicians to make the flavor, you know.
Yeah.
And to be there for you and to be emotionally invested in it. Yeah. But really, the harp was really. I mean, the guitar was second to the harp. I mean, you might take one guitar solo, Johnny. You do, yeah, Johnny. Especially when he's doing a shuffle and we're rocking it, you know. Then he got so happy, man. He would smile. It was like a golden smile of joy. He'd do these slow songs that went on literally forever. And then when we finally did a fast song, you know, and we started rocking the joy, you know, it was great. And a lot of his songs, like they were filled with advice. He didn't just have advice for musicians; he had advice for everybody. It's so easy to be misled. I'm here to tell you, people, everybody got to use the head. And then I like he goes, you got to use it in court. You got to use it when you vote. You got to use your head for more than cracking jokes. And of course, if someone says, "Don't laugh, don't stop cracking jokes, and use your head," it automatically cracks you up. I mean, the people who are the most stone-faced people that you've ever seen, like, I've seen them just burst out in laughter at a Tail Dragger show, you know, because it's like, who is this crazy man, you know? Yeah. And he's always like, you know, pointing, like, to emphasize his point, you know, people try to use you, figure you ain't got no sense, you know. That's why you got to wake up and stop cracking jokes. And he had the greatest stories and raps, and for every song illustrated some point. Yeah. You know, the neighborhood has a post office, it has a liquor store, it has a gas station, and it has a blues singer. And he was, and so we were playing these neighborhood places from 8 to 1. Well, he would do the blues festival. He'd go to Europe. I guess the first one I did, I mean, the first time I went to Europe was with Tail Dragger. This is a great memory because, like, this just shows the incredible stage presence he had. I mean, he had stage presence in a little black club, and he had stage presence on a big stage. So we played in Utrecht, which was one of the best blues festivals in Europe at that time, in Holland. And this might be about 98. And the stage was enormous. And he just came walking in real slow, like this slow. And he sat down. We're all standing there. It's really funny. First we played this song. Madison Slim was on the gig, Rick, Twist Turner. And the stage was so big, it's like Madison Slim's yelling out D or G or C or E or whatever. It all sounded the same with the roar of the crowd going, roar, roar, roar. I mean, the crowd sounded like a sporting event, you know? And I have no key. I still don't know what song that key was in. What key that song was in, because we played it in like 3 different keys, and that's a sidetrack. So the song was kind of weird, and anyway, but they were still there. The audience somehow tolerated the song in 3 different keys, and then he came out real slow, and he sat there, and he has this baleful look. I mean, he's either joyful, or he can be real baleful. Like there's pictures of him where he's just like looking at you like this, like I think that's another Howlin' Wolf thing, you know. I never saw Howlin' Wolf. I mean, I didn't get to Chicago till '88, and so I never saw Howlin' Wolf. But I mean, Howlin' Wolf sounds pretty baleful, you know, like foreboding or ominous kind of. So like he's kind of staring at you. He just stared at the audience. No smile, no speech, no nothing. And there was this moment where nothing happened, and then the whole audience just roared. I mean, you could hear them all the way in Norway or something, you know. And like we had them, there was absolutely we didn't do jack. We couldn't even play in the same key. And then he just walked on there and sat down, and he had it. It was like John Lee Hooker. Like when I saw John Lee Hooker, he sat down the whole time, and then the big moment was when he got up and prowled around, and that was kind of like a feral, talismanic representation of ancient juju. I mean, a few years ago in Spain, we're riding down these tiny little cobblestones. People were like banging on the van because they saw him in there, and you know it was like Mick Jagger was in the van. So you know it was, you know, and lots of people I know have had similar experiences with Taildragger because he has this this energy and vibe to him that you can't, it cannot be duplicated or taught. You know, until showtime comes around, has a drink or two. There's females. You know, there's all the motivators that a blues man needs, right? The people, that's motivator number one. And you've got a little alcohol to push it along, and women, you know, that's the gasoline to the fire. You know, before that he was just a match in a matchbox.
Yeah.
So, but he's a nice man. I mean, you know, when I was broke, when I was in my early 20s, like I had a '76 Chevy Monza, and he put in a water pump for it, you know.
Oh,
and I don't know the first thing about any of that, you know. And you know, he diagnosed it, put it in there, and you know, he helped me with lots of things, you know. And so later on, as I got deeper in the music business, you know, I didn't need to help him because he had plenty of people banging on his door who wanted him. But you know, I made time to be with him because he liked us working together, because like I know he just relaxed, and he knew the guitar was there, he knew the details were okay, he knew everything was going to be good. All he had to do was go be Taildragger. So I like to think that was true. And you know, one thing that I liked about Taildragger, and this is something that I think we really had in common. I mean, everyone beats up on blues purists, but I don't know anyone who's more of a blues purist than Taildragger. I mean, his definition of the blues is, and in order, I think, of importance, Howlin' Wolf, and then Jimmy Reed, and then you got Little Walter, Muddy Waters, and Sonny Boy Waves. That's where he was coming from, period. And if it wasn't that, you know, his eternal war cry was, "That ain't no blues," you know, and you know the word that I'm going to put there. So, I mean, and that was his battle cry. And it's like, we're going to show him I'm bringing the blues back. You know, I mean, he was, you know, standing for something, you know, and that's what he valued.